we get into some legislative topics, you now have one session under your belt as leader of the Republican caucus here in the House. What's your last year been like?
You know, the last year as leader has been an honor. To serve my caucus and serve the state of Minnesota with a conservative voice has been an absolute honor. A learning curve, and I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned about people, and then really how to best listen to the voices across the state of Minnesota.
What can Minnesotans expect from your caucus this year?
You know, when we look at what was done across the state in legislation over the year 2023, there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to want to discuss and hold the majority accountable. You know, I think the better way for governance in Minnesota is to have divided government, to just have a balance. And so you'll be hearing more from us, again, about the surplus that was spent through and taxes and fees increasing that state budget and the concerns that we have going forward. You know, as we look at the February forecast coming out, and is that going to be sustainable, what was done? It doesn't look like it at this point. So you're going to hear about that. But some of the other things is we know there has to be a tax bill fix. There's over $350 million in errors in the tax bill, and so that'll be something that'll need to be fixed. The school resource officer was a hot button issue talked about back in August, and that hasn't really quieted down. There still isn't much clarity within that law, so we're really hopeful for a fix there.
And let's talk about the most recent forecast. The most recent budget forecast, $2.4 billion surplus, with some uncertainty down the road. What did you make of those numbers?
You know, we could say uncertainty down the road or, you know, structural imbalance. To me, that means deficit. And I think as people look at the numbers, the way we're spending in the state right now with high taxes and the mandates that were put on individuals, on Minnesotans, on businesses, states, or the counties, the cities, the school districts, all of that, that's not sustainable. So I look at that as more of a deficit rather than just an imbalance.
Well, I guess let me ask, if you held the gavel, what approach would you take knowing what you know now about this projected surplus?
You know, when we look at what the projected surplus is, knowing that it's not going to be sustainable, the first thing that I would be looking at is how can we reduce spending in the government. How are we spending? Is there fraud? Is there things that are no longer necessary? What could we do that would start making those incremental reductions? Definitely we wouldn't be looking at new spending, though.
Governor Walz recently proposed a nearly $1 billion capital investment plan. What are your thoughts on that package or his idea?
You know, that there's some things for local and across the state, but not a lot when you look at across the state. And so when I think of bonding, I think of things that Republicans typically are supportive of. Wastewater treatment, our roads, our bridges, you know, the things that we own, our assets, those are top of mind when I think of bonding. And so that's a great place to start. I know the capital investment committees have been doing their work, both in the House and the Senate. They've been doing their work throughout the summer, throughout the interim. And so we'll have to see what's coming through. What are those priorities? And if there's going to be a bonding bill, how can we do that there's no wasteful spending in it?
And I guess that's what the bill is going to have to look like to get some Republican votes, because some Republican votes will be needed.
Republican votes will be needed, and that's something that we're always ready to step up and really look at and make sure we have a good bill. But again, looking back at roads, bridges, wastewater treatment, let's do those things that are infrastructure, really important to all Minnesotans.
Last session, we heard a lot from Republicans that said they felt shut out of budget negotiations. DFLers countered that Minnesotans voted to give them total control. How important is it that the two sides work better together?
I think it's always important that the two sides will work together regardless of who's in the majority, or in this case, full Democrat control in the state of Minnesota. That's something that I heard as I've been around the state throughout this interim, you know, from the north to the south and, you know, on both borders. People were saying, you know, well, how come how did the surplus get spent and why did that happen, and what we just don't understand. So I think hearing the voice of the minority, even though voters have put the Democrats in full control in the state of Minnesota, the margins are very slim. And so I think we need to take that into consideration. We're looking forward to get back to work, and we want to get in committees and really be that voice. You know, are there solutions that we could bring forward for some of the most concerning things? Are there some fixes, like I'd mentioned earlier? Those are the things that we really want to do, and be that voice for all Minnesota.
We've already seen some long-serving members announce that they won't seek re-election in 2024. On your side of the aisle, Representative Garofalo says he's not going to be coming back. Representative Pulowski as well from the DFL side. What was your reaction to some of those, to that news, I guess?
You know, I don't think that there's necessarily more retirements or, not seeking re-election, when you look at both sides of the aisle, but we are losing some long-serving institutional knowledge. But we have a great number of legislators that are ready for the challenge and have been working really hard, and they want to know those issues. What I would say is let's really lean on those members that aren't going to be seeking re-election and learn from them in this last time. This last year as they're serving, there's things that they have seen over their course and their careers as legislators. The world has changed. The way we do business has changed. We've become more polarized, but I think we really need to focus on the ways that we can find common ground and work hard for Minnesota, but lean on that, definitely lean on their institutional knowledge.
Come late May, how would you define the 2024 session as being a successful one?
I think if we look at 2024 as slowing down and not just pushing things through because the majority has the votes to push it through, where there's been more input, we haven't increased the budget in any way, and we've looked for ways to reduce things and have a little bit more common sense for the average Minnesotan. I think that would define a successful 2024. Let's reduce spending. Let's make Minnesota a safer place to be.
Leader Demuth, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.